Good day, future CPAs! Tenacity is here to report the Statement of Comprehensive Income. Ang income and expenses ng isang period may be presented in two different ways. It is either a single statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, na kung makikita niyo sa example, ang statement of profit and loss and other comprehensive income ay nasa isang single presentation lang. The next one is the two-statement presentation, kung saan ang una ay statement of profit or loss or income statement, and the second one is the statement of presenting comprehensive income. Pass 1 requires an entity to present information on the following. A. Profit or loss. It is a financial statement that summarizes the revenues, costs, and expenses incurred during a specified period. B. Other comprehensive income. C. Comprehensive income. Maaari tayong mag-present ng separate income statement basta ipe-present din natin yung separate statement na nagpapakita o pinapakita ang comprehensive income. Para makuha natin ang profit or loss, ima-minus natin ng income sa expenses, excluding the components of other comprehensive income. Profit ang tawag sa excess of income over expenses, at loss naman kapag deficiency. Transaction cost naman ang tawag sa ginagamit na method sa pag-compute ng profit or loss. Usually, nire-recognize ang income and expenses sa profit or loss, but once the income and expenses are items of other comprehensive income or they are required by other PFRS to be recognized outside profit or loss, it means hindi sila i-recognize. As you can see in this table, naka-indicate dito yung mga items na hindi kasama sa pagdedetermine ng profit or loss. The profit or loss section shows line item that present the following amounts for the period. Revenue presenting separately interest revenue, finance cost, gains and losses arising from the derecognition of financial asset measured at amortized cost, impairment losses and impairment gains on financial assets, and so on. Yung mga extraordinary items is yung mga unusual o hindi part ng day-to-day operation ng company and mga event na bihira lang mangyari. For example, the losses during natural disasters like typhoon, earthquakes, and hurricane. Extraordinary items are disclosed separately in the financial statement of the company. Merong dalawang methods kung paano mai-present ang expenses. It is by the use of either nature of expense method or function of expense method. Nature of expense method. Under this method, expenses are aggregated according to their nature o sa kung papaano nagastos. For example, raw material, employee benefits, transport costs, and advertising costs. This method of disclosure of expense is using a single step, income presentation. Other method kung saan expenses can be presented is the function of expense method. Expenses classified according to different function they are spent on, o sa activity where the item arises. For example, cost of sales, distribution cost, and administrative expense. Administrative cost is a residual category of expense, meaning pagka ang expense is included sa category ng administrative, hindi na ito qualify under other categories. An entity shall choose whichever method na magpo-provide ng significant and relevant information. If ang gagamitin ay function of expense method, magkakaroon ng additional disclosure for this information is useful sa pagpipredict ng future cash flow ni entity, katulad ng depreciation at administrative expense. As you can see, this is an example illustration of function of expense, kung saan makikita natin dito ang mga sample expenses na meron ng isang entity, from interest expense, cost of inventory sold, insurance expense, and so on. In this case, we will see the amount of expense that is classified as either selling or administrative expense. So under ng selling expenses are advertising expense worth 10,000, write out worth 5,000, then the rent expense, which is only half of the amount that is included in selling expense, worth 2,000. And lastly, sales commissions expense worth 7,000 with a total of 24,000. While in administrative expense, these are insurance expense worth 50,000, legal and other professional fees worth 6,000, then the remaining balance of rent expense included in administrative expense, which is 2,000. And lastly, doubtful accounts expense, which is 8,000 with a total of 66,000. If you notice, interest expense is not included in computing for selling and administrative expenses. because it is classified as finance cost and is one of the major category that is the same with selling and administrative expenses. Next is the cost of inventory sold because it's classified as cost of sales and also a category under the function of expense method. Write-in, on the other hand, is initially capitalized as the cost of inventories and charged directly to the cost of sales when the related inventories are sold. Lastly, loss on sale of equipment is not included because it is a part of other expenses and disclosed only in the notes, unless separate presentation in the face of financial of profit and loss and other comprehensive income is warranted. Other comprehensive income comprises items of income and expense that are not recognized in profit or loss as required or permitted by other PFRS. The components of other comprehensive income includes the following: changes in revaluation surplus, remeasurement of the net defined benefit liability, and so on. In here, you can see that the amount recognized in OCI are usually accumulated as separate components of equity. For example, cumulative changes in revaluation surplus are accumulated in revaluation surplus account, which is presented as a separate component of equity, while cumulative gains and losses from the investment in FVOCI and from translation of foreign operations are also accumulated in a separate equity account. Reclassification adjustment are amount reclassified to profit or loss in the current period that were recognized in other comprehensive income in the current or previous period. Reclassification adjustment arise, for example, on disposal of a foreign operation, the recognition of debt instrument measured at FVOCI, or when a cash flow hedge becomes ineffective or affect profit or loss. A reclassification adjustment for a gain is deducted in OCI and added to profit or loss. This is to avoid double inclusion in total comprehensive income. On the other hand, reclassification adjustment for a loss is an addition to OCI and deduction from profit or loss. To illustrate the reclassification adjustment, here is an example. In 2021, K&J Company disposed a foreign operation for which a cumulative translation gain of 100,000 pesos is recognized in equity. K&J Company is subjected to 30% tax rate. How much is the net of tax reclassification adjustment to other comprehensive income in 2021? The answer is 70,000. The net of tax reclassification adjustment is computed as 100,000 multiplied by 70%. The amount is negative because the classification adjustment is just transferring an amount from other comprehensive income to profit or loss. The comprehensive income section shall group items of OCI into those for which reclassification adjustment is allowed and to those that are not allowed. The types of other comprehensive income which have no reclassification adjustment are the changes in revaluation surplus, remeasurement of net defined benefit liability, and fair value changes in FVOCI and equity instrument. While the fair value changes in FVOCI in debt instrument, translation differences in foreign operations, and effective portion of cash flow hedges have reclassification adjustments. As we all know, income ay yung kinikita natin all throughout na accounting period. But in this case, total comprehensive income ay yung result kapag ma-deduct mo lahat ng expenses, which is either profit or loss. In this illustration, we can see the records of information of K&J Company as of December 31, 20X1. At ang hinahanap daw dito is yung profit for the year, other comprehensive income, and total comprehensive income. K&J Company statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income for the year ended December 31, 20X1. Sales na 1 million, iless natin yung sales discount na 10,000, makukuha natin yung net sales na 990,000. Less the cost of sales na 400,000, then now our gross profit is 590,000. Iless natin yung distribution cost na 48,000 and the administrative cost na 120,000. Then add natin yung 12,000 na dividend received from the investment in FVPL. Bakit? Dahil income siya or kinita mo siya. Then add natin yung share in the profit of associate na 36,000. Add the unrealized gain on investment in FVPL which is 15,000. Less natin yung casualty loss ng typhoon na 20,000. Bakit siya ililess? Dahil ito yung binayad or ginastos mo sa goods or operation na naapektuhan ng bagyo. I-less natin yung interest expense na 22,000, then add profit before tax na 443,000. I-less natin yung 150k income tax expense. So as we less and add the values, makukuha natin yung profit for the year, which is 293,000. To compute the total comprehensive income for the year, classify natin yung mga accounts na maaaring profit or loss sa items na maaaring hindi profit or loss. As for the items that will not be reclassified subsequently to profit or loss, i-less natin yung loss on revaluation na 13,000, then add natin yung unrealized gain on investment in equity instrument FVOCI na 19,000 and remeasurement of the net defined benefit liability na 11,000. And for the items naman that may be reclassified subsequently to profit or loss, i-less natin yung loss on translation of foreign operation na 4,000 and i-add natin yung other comprehensive income na 13,000. Overall, ang total comprehensive income natin for the year 20x1 is 306,000.